In this clip, we're going to discuss the trajectory of the bat head and the hands in the contact zone. So I've already cycled Pete forward here now to the lag position because, like I said, we're discussing the contact area. And as you can see, I've already drawn in some dots outlining now with the position of the bat head and the knob of the bat at that position. And as we cycle through it here, I'm just going to take him through it. I think that's about 4 frames each that we're going. You can see now that they line up. Here we're there. And so I'm just taking him on around now, and as we can see here, backing him up here real slow again. All the way through, if you follow this, you can see that the bat head doesn't straighten out and take a linear path to allow for more contact. It's pretty obvious, you can see here, that by looking at the red dots, that the path of the bat head follows an arc because basically the bat head is arcing around the hands, and therefore if the hands are following a somewhat circular path, then also the bat head must. So now let's just take him forward here again. As you can see now on through here, the hands are now starting to arc over toward the shortstop. We get to here. And now I want to point something out right here at this position. As you see here, that green arrow indicates what I call the apex now in the hook and the hand path. Now, the hook and the hand path means, in other words, that at this point, the forward movement of the hands has reached their maximum. At this point, they're going to go forward no more, and in fact, the pull of the lead shoulder is going to start pulling the hands and the knob of the bat, the bottom hand at least, and the knob of the bat rearward toward the catcher. And I think you can see this now here. From this point on now, the hands are actually, the lead hand and knob is being pulled rearward by the rotation of the lead shoulder. All right, so there as we go on around, we can see it all the way then through contact. But once again, that point that you see there where the green arrow is, I refer to that as the apex and the hook in the hand path. Now that we've discussed the hook and the hand path and how at the apex of the hook, the lead shoulder is actually pulling the bottom hand more rearward back toward the catcher, I thought this would be a good point to bring in how torque is applied to the swing. So I've drawn some arrows on here, and I'll explain those in just a second. But notice here as we cycle him forward through the swing, and I get him up here right in here now. Now this is the knob now right now is at the apex. And what I want to show here is that the drive of the lead shoulder is represented by the green arrow. As we rode him back a little bit, you can see that the rotation of that back shoulder now, driving the top hand, is driving it forward, basically in the applying a force on the handle of the bat in the direction of the green arrow. And at the same time, we can see then that the bottom hand, once we reach the apex here, is actually now then pulling back in the direction of the blue arrow. And that is what torque is. One hand applying a force in one direction, while the other hand applies a force in the opposite direction. And that's what we see. Now, I refer to this, since it is the bottom hand that is pulling rearward instead of extending forward like we're normally taught, I refer to this as a BHT, or bottom hand torque. A bottom hand pulling rearward, applying torque to the bat. By the same reasoning, that's why I called at the initiation of the swing THT, because unlike the average ball player, the greater hitters are actually applying THT by pulling the top hand rearward. And in this case with BHT, the bottom hand is pulling rearward. Many batting authorities would tell you that as you approach the contact zone, the batter should extend the box lead elbow, and that's what gives it the power and snap and so forth in the swing. Well, let's take a look at Pete's swing here, and I think you can see that's not the case at all. Do you see the bend in his elbow? He's going to maintain that same bend, because if he allowed it to extend, we get him on around here a little further, see it's maintaining the bend all the way. And we get him right here to the apex again. And notice now, if that lead elbow were to extend out, straight out toward the pitcher, that he wouldn't be applying that rearward force we're showing with the blue line. And therefore, both hands in would be going forward, and this would apply no torque and actually stall the bat speed that we're seeing. Therefore, if anyone tells you that actually the batter should take a boxed lead arm and then extend it out like you're throwing a frisbee, I think if you look at all of these overhead shots and also even those you can see from the normal frontal and side view, you'll find that's not the case. Just like we see Pete here, whatever angle they start out. Now, of course, if the ball's outside or something at the very beginning, they may extend the arm out to allow for the coverage. But basically, you're going to see them keep that lead elbow just like you see it here. And that is far from what you'd see. There's no extension at all. In fact, if he'd extended, like I said, that would actually cost a lot of power, because then he wouldn't have that pulling action along with the pushing action of the back arm that applies the real torque and snap at contact. Now, Pete here is not a great power hitter, and therefore, like I said, you won't see the definition and the hook in the hand path that you'd see if we had an overhead of Bonds or someone like that who really uses a lot of bottom hand torque in the swing.